Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Losers Bracket Finals Best of 5. This is For the Win, number 30. I'm Sybert, broadcasting live. This match on the left side, our blue allied player from Team H2O. He has fought through all sorts of rounds of this tournament. This is Tony. And on the right side, his opponent, the Empire, the reigning champ, here to defend his crown, but can he make it to the grand final to actually do that? This is Fordell, the Purple Empire player who has been almost playing random, just because he'll change it up based on the series, based on his opponent, but some of the series he does just straight up play random. And I think versus allies, players, he actually plays random, and then versus other people, like oh no, never mind. Because he's playing Empire versus Tony, but he played random against Vindies in the For the Win number 29 finals. I'm not actually sure why he chooses to play random some series and chooses his faction other series. He does change up his faction, though. For example, the last series he played entirely as allies. Now, Tony does need to be careful. This engineer, oh, so close to going down there, as these Imperial Warriors can tank quite a few shots. They do need that little bit of time to be able to get over to that engineer. And Tony grabs that oil derrick. A nice move for him. And also, that's annoying. That dog is going to be able to lock down that Rax without too much trouble for Tony. He's going to be pressing on forward, and the Rax forced to be sold off there by Fordell. Tony able to take down the temple in the center. He doesn't want to have to deal with that. Drops down the airfield before they expand. Of course, he's got these two power plants, which are technically exposed. Sometimes that comes back to bite allied players in the butt, but it doesn't always, and lots of the time, it doesn't even matter that much. It just makes them a little bit harder for your opponent to really get around and kill. In this particular case, we'll have to see exactly what Fordell decides to go for. Oh, this Apollo coming in here will end up kind of getting surrounded, but of course he can smash that F key. He can get on out of there with that super speed boost from that Apollo. Mecha Bay is out, and he's going at least 4 Tengus before the Tier 2. Now, the dogs are being split by Tony, who wants to keep an eye on his opponent's expansions. His at least likely ones that are out on the kind of corners of the map. He won't quite have eyes on this one until just a couple of moments from now, but he'll kind of be like, wait a second, where's your MCV? I'm not exactly sure where it is. Wait, is this the old 5 Tengu tech up? I guess not. That's probably moving a little bit too quickly to actually be the Tier 2 tech up. Apollo getting targeted down. Oh, those Tengus. One of them will end up going down. The Apollo will go down as well. And the second Apollo may actually get targeted down right as it tries to land. No. Tony does manage to just keep it a little bit too far away. Barracks does get established, and Fordell is now going to be pushing with his MCV a little bit later. He potentially will be looking to camp on this airfield, but the Javelin Trooper makes it that much harder to actually camp on the airfield, as one of the Apollos does go down once more. The Tengus so far all have survived. And these Vindicators potentially could get enough bombs off, because he really just needs the one bomb to kill the Mecha Tengu. And then the other Mecha Tengus, I don't know if they could focus down a Vindicator fast enough to kill it before that. They might get it just after that. Javelin Trooper actually does get the killing blow there. And now with the help of this Apollo, these Tengus will be forced to transform. And, well, one of those cores did go down. I believe that was a Defender core, and the Dojo core is extremely low on HP. This Javelin Trooper should be able to finish it off without too much trouble. 3 or 4 shots will be just enough. He needs one more missile. No, one more missile, because it's getting repaired. And now the Imperial Warrior will chase him down. The Vindicator should have enough DPS to finish that off, though. We shall see. Well, never mind, the Peacekeepers are here. And just take it down in a couple of shots, no problem. Apollos and Vindicators moving out in a combination. We're going to be able to do a potential bit of damage. Extra Vindicator is going to be able to do a little bit of extra damage to that Rax. Double Airfield is going to be powering our allied player forward. But he has to be careful that he doesn't get stuck on just that airfield play for too long. You need something on the ground to help you not get totally camped and just countered. In this case, cleaning up the Tengus is a great first step for Tony. He needs to kill off those Tengus. He needs to be able to maintain air superiority as he continues into the next stages of this game. MCV heading to the high ground is going to be able to escape for now. Fordell will be able to get to safety. There's the big transform of the Tengus. They're hoping to target down some of these other Vindicators, but for now the Tengus are mostly being, well, they're being chased by the Apollo. They will be able to clean up one Vindicator. Depending on how many of these Tengus actually end up getting traded, one ends up going down. A second one will make this worth it for Tony. If he kills a second Tengu, then that one Vindicator has indeed been paid for. Crashes into the walls, a little bit annoying there. Shouldn't be too big of a deal unless infantry show up to join in the party as more and more of those Tengus go down. And it's just enough to kill off that Harvester, just enough to secure that little bit of victory. And suddenly things are evening up. And wow, those jukes, never mind, the jukes are done, the jukes are over. That instant dojo just needs a single bomb from Tony as he is dropping just those single bombs that he needs. Splitting them quite nicely. Conyard being repositioned. And the Vindicators just launching the bombs sideways, basically, as they clean up that dojo, able to push back the MCV, make this game go on a little bit longer, make it a little bit more awkward for these guys. A couple of multi-gunner turrets may be able to seal the deal as far as the defense is concerned for Tony. He does need that security. He does need that defense. Ooh, Striker VX is going to be able to put a little bit of hurt on these Apollos. Not all that much, because with double airfield, you can have so many more Vindicators, so many more Apollos than you otherwise would have, and you just have so many more options because of that. You can have your Apollos fly in, tank a little bit of damage, and then and then there's the multi-gunner turret. We'll be pushing away the MCV, and this is just a kind of weird scenario. Well, goodbye, engineer. That guy is most likely not going to be able to go anywhere. I don't think there's anything that's close enough for him to capture before this speed boost runs out. And then once the speed boost runs out, he's going to be sitting there panting for like 12 years. And then he'll just get sniped. Speed boost is nice if you're like close enough to a building. But unfortunately, he wasn't. He tried to go for the run. Maybe he was hoping his opponent just wouldn't give chase. With no point defense drones, these guys will die a little bit faster, but no, the transform is nicely timed there by Fordell. He is able to escape that one round of Vindicator bombs, which, I mean, that's 4 Vindicators all dropping bombs, and one of them ended up going down. Tony does at some point need to get himself out a third refinery. He needs to get himself out some sort of extra unit production facility. Hopefully it's going to be an armor facility. Get out a war factory for those vehicles. He has actually had this oil derrick for quite some time. I'm not actually sure how much income he has generated with it, but it's been quite a bit regardless. Finally, the Striker VXs will be targeting that down. Of course, Fordell needs to make sure that he keeps his Striker VXs over land so they don't get caught out by Apollos. One Tengu going for the harass on the left side, while on the right side, the Vindicators coming in, sniping down a power plant. Potentially some cryo shots, cryo blast sort of thing could be firing off relatively soon here for Tony. Harvester does get pulled off the line, and Fordell won't be able to kill it off just yet. There's the transform as the Apollos are just going to chew through the rest of those Strikers, but he gets the airfield. Now, that's only 1,000 credits to be rebuilt, and Tony should be on that relatively soon. He has teched up to Tier 2. We potentially will be seeing cryocopters in the near future. Potentially paired with those 4 Vindicators would be an extremely powerful attack force, and the Vindicators are going to be coming in. Oh, the Apollos, are they here to take out this last Apollo, or this last Striker? Yes, they are, and Fordell drops the GG. Losing that many units just was not worth it. He could not sustain that many losses and that inefficient of a trade, as he will be forced to drop that first game. But this is a best of 5. He's still got more chances, and Tony is not unbeatable. Welcome to Game 2 of the Losers Bracket Final. Spawning in the left position as our Purple Empire player, this is Fordell. And in the northern position as our blue Empire player, that's right, it's an EVE. This is Tony from H2O. He is indeed playing Empire. He decided to change up his faction. I'm not 100% sure why. I mean, he did indeed win that last game as allies, which means he should be reasonably confident, but maybe he wasn't exactly confident in the way that it happened, and he doesn't think he can do it a second time. But he is going to be opening this series with a 1-0 point advantage. Of course, winning that first game will make him in a much better position for this best of 5. If he wins one more game, it's match point for him. Now, thus far, neither one of these guys opening up too crazy or anything like that. Engineer will be popping on out for that garage for Tony. Will grab it, immediately sells off the barracks, and he's actually going to potentially be going to try to snipe out one of those, That's always cute when they eliminate each other. He was potentially going to try to snipe out one of those tank busters. Didn't quite make it happen. Wasn't quite able to make the magic happen. Make it work, as they say. And these tank busters going to be targeting down the refinery. Fordell going to be looking to put on the early aggression. Is he going to be following it up with the Mecha Bay? No, he's actually just going to be following it up with nothing thus far. He eventually will be going out with the Mecha Bay, but will he actually be getting the sudden transport, which is kind of the next step that I was going for? Now, the crushes may be incredible here for Tony. They really do need to be. He needs to take the pressure off of him. Now, nice splits there by Fordell. He's trying to just take away the power of that honorable discharge from Tony's forces. And Tony, while he packed up his MCV, he can't reconstruct those walls. He had an opportunity there to potentially block off the damage for a couple of more seconds, but he wasn't quite able to get it. The Harvester not brought off the line until the refinery is already dead, which at that point it doesn't even matter. And Fordell packing along again. We saw this in a previous game, but he packs along a Defender core and then just goes for this hardcore push. And for some reason, it's actually working. It just takes people by surprise. That extra bit of damage and DPS is just a little bit too much for them to deal with. And in this case, it worked really quite nicely against Tony. And in just, what is that? 2 minutes and 16 seconds, that will be the end of that, and Fordell evens the score up with some very, very aggressive moves here, and it's almost like not even cheese, just because that sort of infantry-based opening is something that you expect to see on 80-90% of matches. Like, it happens a lot, that heavy infantry opener. Well, maybe not that heavy, but it was a seized opportunity there for Fordell, and he was rewarded very well for it. And welcome to the losers bracket final, game number 3, spawning on the left side as our blue allied player. This is Tony, the up-and-comer, the underdog, the young blood, the dark horse. On the right side, our purple Empire player. This is Fordell, the reigning champ, the old boy, the expert, if you will. He is the one to beat. And, I mean, everybody loves the underdog story, except for Fordell right now. He's like, I don't like the underdog story because I'm not the underdog. I like the reigning champ story who comes back for a 2-time finish. Is he able to take for the win number 29 and for the win number 30 consecutively like that? That would be a great victory for him, claiming those two. Not sure if he'll be able to make it happen. Burst Drone going to be clamping down on that Harvester. A little bit annoying there. Tony once again going pretty much immediately for that garage, really wanting to make use of it. And it didn't work out too well in the previous game. Of course, he didn't really have that many units that utilized the garage. A couple of Tengus and, of course, the Harvesters. But he just the damage was coming out from the infantry, and he didn't have the numbers to deal with it. And then he was like, oh, I guess Fordell's Empire v. Empire is maybe a little bit better than mine. I guess the dog actually got the kill on that Imperial Warrior. A lot of times you'll see a dog or a bear eliminate the Imperial Warrior as the Imperial Warrior eliminates the dog or the bear. MCV moved forward by Fordell. Is he actually going to continue with a similar push? He is going for that, delayed... Is he actually going to delayed triple dojo, which he did in a previous game? He just went for kind of a later triple dojo move and just pumped a lot of infantry. I don't actually remember how that one worked out. In this case, he just dropped the extra 2 Jojos. He's going to deploy them mostly on the other side of the map and then pull back his MCV, potentially looking for a relatively quick 3rd expansion. War Factory out on the move. IFVs being constructed, and of course, IFV is going to be gaining a nice bit of an... It's not like a health boost, but that repair boost just makes them that much more potent, that much more powerful on this map. Imperial Warrior going to be jumping forward, tries to go for the kill, won't quite be able to get it. Tony should go ahead and split off one of those Peacekeepers to a bit of a range to be able to finish off that Imperial Warrior. And there is going to be that 3rd expansion eventually will come on out. And the IV's pressing forward. Looks like that one multi-gunner IFV was able to deal with the Tengu without too much trouble. IFV's pressing forward by Tony. He's going to be forced to back away for now. I was kind of expecting potentially some more aggression. I'm not actually sure if he's going to be pushing the issue too much further. So he did take up to tier 2. We could actually be seeing Guardian tanks be the follow-up. He's got a couple of Riptides. He's already got a Guardian tank out on the order. Now, of course, these Tsunami tanks, they do all right versus Guardian tanks, but Guardian tanks with healing, that's a different scenario entirely, especially when you can just reverse move micro back, and as long as you're paying attention, you've got reasonable control, you can keep your units alive for so long. Ore Collector is going to be getting targeted down, of course, with that laser lock from the Guardian tank. Those IFVs suddenly do a lot more damage. Forcing the Harvester off the line, not a huge deal. Will deny a little bit of mining time. Not a big deal again, but more Peacekeepers, more Guardian tanks being pushed out across the map. One of the Riptides will be split off to deal with that Ore Collector. Of course, out on the water, it does count as a naval unit. Won't actually receive the repairs from those, from the garage. But once he steps back on land, should get those repairs nicely. 2 Guardian tanks, 3 IFVs. Pretty hefty amount of DPS going to be coming out from Tony. Not super crazy. And this is the MCV. Yeah, that is the MCV all the way over on that side of the map. And Tony should be realizing that something is wrong. He should figure out that, like, oh, there's a problem that I need to deal with. And that problem is indeed that MCV. Guardian tank is going to be getting focused down, but it will start to heal back up as long as Tony does have that barrage. Tony, you really need to deal with this MCV. You don't know what he's going to be doing with it. He could be doing something extremely sneaky, extremely devious. And Tony just doesn't know. Now, the 3 refineries going to be quite helpful for Fordell. Ooh, loses actually that striker. That's a bit unfortunate that that did go down. Tony, he really does need to deal with this MCV. Maybe drop a barracks, get on an engineer, just so that the MCV can't really stay deployed for very long. Looks like a Guardian tank went down to the assaulting fire of those 5 Tsunami tanks. And the Riptide eventually does get cleaned up by that striker. But now the MCV might actually end up getting surrounded. We'll have to see. Laser lock is going to be activated, and as the extra Guardians join up here... Oh no, the laser locking Guardian is going to be getting cleaned up. That could have been that extra bit of DPS, and now instead of having 1 Guardian tank and all of the rest of them going to be on regular fire mode, he lost that extra Guardian tank. Goodbye, MCV. That was a crazy amount of DPS with that laser lock damage bonus. You can kill an MCV surprisingly quickly. Surprisingly quickly. So it's basically 3 refineries locked in, but this is a healthy amount of Tsunami tanks. This is a healthy amount of production, and Tony never took a 3rd refinery for his own. He's looking to do that now, but it's significantly later than that of his opponent, and his opponent has been able to produce a large number of Tsunami tanks, which would be helped greatly by the addition of a garage. One of the probably the best thing for Fordell to do before the next big engagement is clean up this garage. Yep, 1 striker, like maybe over here, just do some damage, take it down. Deal with it before the next big engagement. Of course, if you've got overwhelming numbers, you still will be able to take the victory. But against a player with good micro, they can keep their units alive for so long. How many Guardian tanks are actually out on the field? Only 4. That's actually really surprising. This one Peacekeeper, man, he's going for the instant generator. He goes for the power plant, gets himself a fully heroic status. We'll be able to clean that up. And now there's actually a bit of an awkward split here with these units. The Tsunami tanks are now a bit too far away to deal with this attack. And of course, these IFVs will be able to deal with the Striker no problem at all. He needs really a couple of... Well, that was a kind of awkward engagement as all of the Javelin Troopers just eject on out of there for insane amounts of DPS. He really does need the Tsunami tanks back at home, but now they're assaulting the airfield rather, which really is not the most useful thing for Tony. In this game, he just hasn't been utilizing it all that much. He hasn't really been able to do that much with it. It hasn't really been his focus. The MCV is now going to be getting targeted down. Potentially, a couple of these Tsunami tanks could be getting crushed. No, they do get pulled back, just narrowly kiting away from that MCV, keeping them alive. And now this MCV is most likely going to be getting eliminated. There's almost nothing here to save it. And with that MCV gone, no more Tier 2. He's going to have to make a command hub. He's going to have to get some sort of tech up there, but the Mecha Bay is gone. Fordell still does have a healthy number of Tsunami tanks. Oh my word, if he kills off the armor facility of his opponent, that might be the most important thing that he can do right now is kill off this armor facility, kill off the only production structure that his opponent has, and suddenly this game has turned into a bit of a base trade scenario. On one hand, Tony needs to get out onto the water somehow, some way. He's got literally one Riptide. This is like his last chance, but with 2 Tsunami tanks guarding it, there's basically no way for Tony to win. And it's like he almost had this game won, but now I don't think he literally can win this game. Again, we're talking about monumental, a game of throws from Fordell to lose this game at this point. He's going to lose basically everything, but as long as he has that refinery out on the water, Tony can't really touch him. I mean, this one Riptide is not going to have enough DPS to deal with 2 Tsunami tanks and take down the ore refinery. He's got nothing to go out onto the water to deal with this. I mean, this has to be it. This has to be it for Tony, doesn't it? There's nothing that can go out onto the water for him. He's got no production structures left. He's got nothing. He's literally got a power plant. That's the only thing keeping him left in this game. The GG comes down. Tony will lose a game that maybe he should have won. Wow. This is, that was a surprising game. That turnaround at the end as Fordell with the overwhelming Tsunami tanks was just too much. Tony wanted to go for a 3rd base, but that meant his MCV was out of range. He couldn't produce the Guardian tanks that he needed to actually stay on his feet. And he goes down, he drops it. And that's it. I mean, it's not it for the series, but that's it for that game. Is exactly how this series should start because it's match point, and this fellow in the bottom left of Hard Lesson, he needs your cheers. He's from Team H2O. He is down 1-2 in this best of 5 of the losers bracket final for the win number 30. This is Tony. And in the northern position, the reigning champ, the Purple Empire. It is Fordell. This series is maybe surprising for a lot of people. It's not necessarily the way you would expect it to go. Triple Dojo opening for Fordell. He, of course, can go for both of the Oiled Erics if he wants. We've seen some epic matches on this map for sure. One of them was the For the Win number 29 finals. One of the matches there. One of the games against Vindies. Reverse spawn positions, but the same matchup for Fordell, and he was able to really make some magic happen. Can he do it again? Tony is up against the ropes, though. He's made it all the way to the losers bracket finals. He's never taken a Premier tournament. I don't know that he's ever actually been to the finals of a Premier tournament, and now he is literally 2 games away. If he can focus on that, focus on winning these next 2 games, he has it. He's in the grand final. He's guaranteed a top 2 finish. Right now, he goes home as 3rd if he loses this game. He doesn't want to go home as 3rd. That's no fun. That is no fun at all. So it was Triple Dojo into just a Mecha Bay. Nothing crazy. No third refinery coming out by Fordell. Engineer, though, he is going to be going for that oil derrick of his opponent. Activates the speed boost right at the end there. Gets a little wave as well. Tony going for the airfield before the expansion. Unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of ground units, as allies normally don't. Vindicator coming on out. Will be able to take down this Tengu. Goodbye, Tengu. Harvester can get back to work relatively soon here. And laser lock from the low ground. Tony is going to be able to deal with that oil derrick quite nicely. Won't really allow Fordell to get too much value from that oil derrick. Peacekeepers also being brought back across the map. Civvy structures can be such a difficult thing to deal with on some maps. This map does have quite a few of them. It does also have this thing, which is, I guess, just an obstacle. It's not actually a civilian structure, of course. It's just a little boat out on the water. Adds a little bit of detail, a little bit of nuance to the map. 4 Tengus with repairs can absolutely shred that Apollo, no problem. Now, of course, he does pull it back because Tony is not falling asleep at the wheel. He is not going to let that single Apollo go down that easily. There's actually a couple of tank busters mixed into this building apparently as they shoot out their little lasers. And that Imperial Warrior, I mean, he's trying to be a hero. He's going to, like, want to go for that power plant. Potentially try to kill it off. He's actually going to start shooting it down. That's annoying. And it's placed so closely that if Vindicators come over there to try to take it down, it'll splash the building a bit. 3 Peacekeepers could clean that up really quite easily if he wants to go that route. Javelin Trooper being brought back from his oil derrick killing duties. He's cleaned up both of the oil derricks out on the map. Now, they should be able to engage pretty nicely here with nice micro, but Tony futzes it a little bit there. Fumbles, messes it up, will lose an Apollo that he didn't really need to lose. That's just unfortunately how it goes, is he just didn't need to lose that Apollo. It is sometimes hard to keep those Apollos alive. You have to hit that F key earlier than you would think. More and more Tengus getting pumped out. 7 in total, I believe, are out on the map now. And potentially even 8 or 9, as a couple more do get produced. And, of course, this is one of those maps where it's got the grouping of expansions, which could be taken as your, 4th and 5th expansion, or in this case, your 3rd and your 4th, potentially. This is a lot of Tengus here. These Apollos can't really deal with this many Tengus when you've got the repairs. If this was a slightly different engagement, if the Apollos had a better angle and there weren't constant repairs there, maybe, they could have gotten some damage done, but trades out 2 Vindicators as well. Tony is donating to the Fordell Go to the For the Win 30 Finals Fund. That's what just happened. He just gave a bunch of value, a bunch of units away. He's giving them away. He is gifting them to Fordell. He's saying, I don't want air superiority. I don't want these aircraft. Take them off of my hands. I don't want to deal with them. And the Apollo's heading over to the right side of the map. They're going to get eyes over here. They're going to see, okay, there's no actual expansion here, so that's good. But Tony, even with his double airfield, he has to be careful. He has to be wary about donating too many units. Until Fordell has really that, critical mass of Tengus, Tony can engage, but only with, cautious angles and with good control. Because if he tries to take more of those engagements where all of his Apollos aren't together, or he's, engaging where the Tengus get repairs, something like that, he's never going to win those engagements against that many Tengus. And if he wants to move on in this series, he's going to need to win pretty much every one of these remaining engagements. That Javelin Trooper just gets sniped there pretty much instantly by those units. Now, this is a healthy number of Apollos, 6 of them in total, but with point defense drones, 9 Tengus, especially with repairs, should be able to deal with that. 6 Apollos might be able to deal with 9 Tengus. I don't know about with point defense drones, but still, that's getting into some pretty dangerous territory for either player. Wow, this is a lot of Apollos. Now he can actually afford to engage those Tengus. again, with good control. And, oh, he's going to be getting some free shots here. Now, they do have point defense drones, but 8 Apollos versus like 10 or 11 Tengus. It looks like the Tengus are starting to tear things up, but it's not enough. They do transform. They get on out of there, and pretty much none of those Tengus were saved that could have been. They did all go down just because there's so much DPS in those armies. You almost can't click fast enough. You have to be so on point. You have to have a very fast reaction time to be able to save those units. And similarly, some of the Apollos ended up going down as well. Now, these Peacekeepers are going to be doing what they can. They're going to be doing that extra bit of DPS. But Cryocopters now out on the field. And those Imperial Warriors are going to be doing a little bit of damage. Might actually be able to kill off this airfield because this one Cryocopter can only freeze down one of those units at a time. And if he's trying to let the Tank Buster actually breathe here, oh, this Vindicator may be able to do... Nope, he's going to fly away. All right. He may have been able to kill off those units, because if he would have frozen down another one of the guys, he does pull them over to the right side. This airfield is going to be getting eliminated as that Vindicator lands. It does go down, and these Tengus will be able to escape. Both of the airfields, the primary production facilities of Tony, have been eliminated. 4del clearing the slate and will be able to back off, and he's got himself a third and a fourth expansion relatively soon. It's going to be just a couple of moments away. He will have that full four refinery economy rolling. And 4del is looking to be in a very powerful position. Tony does still have some very critical air units, namely the Cryocopter. However, as this game continues, if 4del is allowed to macro out of control and just produce whatever he wants, then he will be able to take this game by storm, by the numbers. He won't need good micro, he won't need good control, he won't need good engagements. If 4del is allowed to macro out of control, he will just be able to take the game by numbers. Second airfield being established. This refinery is getting so close to elimination as this fully heroic, Imperial Warrior and Tank Buster do clean it up there. The refinery does still stand. The Harvester got eliminated, but when you trade a Harvester for a refinery, as what basically just happened, it's going to be favoring our Empire player a fair bit there. I feel like 4del is probably floating a bit of cash. It seems like he should have more units. Maybe he's focused more... Wait a second. Okay, for a second I thought I saw Wave Force Artillery. I was like, okay, that would explain it. But no, he's not teching up just yet. He could potentially look to take a fifth expansion. I mean, 4 really is enough in the majority of situations. Oh, he may actually be losing... Packing the Cryocopter along really seals the fate of that refinery, because if it's just the Cryoblast, then the refinery's fine. The Harvester wouldn't be if it was there, but packing that Cryocopter along means that Harvester is for sure, or that refinery for sure, is going to be frozen down and eliminated. Tengu's swinging over here. The power plant will be the first target, shutting down potential multi-gunner turrets. And if this power plant actually goes down, it may be just enough to take that multi-gunner turret offline. There is 2 more power plants out on the map, which does mean that Tony may have just enough to keep himself online, but he can't place down too many more multi-gunner turrets if he is not careful. Sells off some of the wall segments there. And 4del, what is his follow-up plan? Well, it's more strikers, just more units. As he presses on forward, moves his MCV to another location, spreading himself out quite a bit, potentially looking to take a new 4th refinery location. And these strikers are going to be getting chased away. The Apollos will be forcing them off, forcing them away from doing any of that damage, which means these strikers over here could potentially transform to get out that extra bit of DPS. The Tengus may be sent all the way to the southern part of the map to help deal with that power plant. And that does actually split up the forces. Again, unfortunately, Tony is so reliant on aircraft that he doesn't really have units to kill off these very vulnerable strikers. I mean, they could have potentially, been eliminated at this point, but he doesn't have anything to really kill them, and now this power plant is going to be going down, and these strikers will, for the most part, be able to escape. Of course, they can get cleaned up by the Vindicator eventually, but he has to catch them with the Cryocopters, and since he shrunk them down, they're actually going to be walking a bit into a trap, as there are 4 more strikers on the ground here, splitting their damage up between a couple of different Apollos. 1 more Apollo will go down, and I'm not sure, I think that was a Cryocopter eliminated as well, as now The majority of these strikers will go down. It will crash into that airfield, forcing the repair. The power plant gets eliminated in the south, and now this multi-gunner turret in the north, well, north of that power plant, does go offline. The airfield may get targeted down here as this heroic Vindicator drops bomb after bomb, trying to clear the forces, and tsunami tanks may be the next step for Fordell to win this game. But for now, he may not even need them. Tengu's flying around trying to clear the skies. And yes, it looks like it is going to be enough forces. There's not enough anti-air to deal with the strikers. There's not enough units, period, for Tony. It's a cute move. It's a cute move. It's not game-winning. As another airfield goes down, again, the principal production facilities for Tony have been eliminated. Fordell just crushing through almost everything that Tony has. Now the multi-gunner turrets will once again be offline. Well, I guess after this next power plant goes down, it'll probably be offline. Refinery, trying to reproduce that harvester, trying to get his economy back online. Tony just doesn't have units. That's the thing he doesn't have. GG gets called. Fordell will advance on to the grand finals of For the Win number 30. He's looking for a repeat, but can he do it against Jeremo? A player who has been crushing as of late, not flawlessly, but he has been doing well. Now, Fordell and Jeremo, both powerful Empire players, but will they both choose to play Empire in the late stages of this tournament? We will have to see in the grand finals of For the Win number 30. Congratulations to Tony for making top 3. But, actually, I guess he kind of made top 4. He will have to kind of sidle out with Demon. Thank you all very much for watching.